Hi there, I'm Michelle the Painter. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to paint glass 3 different ways. I thought this would be a fun exercise. A lot of people like to learn how to paint translucent glass, so I figured, hey, let's give it a shot and give you guys a fun tutorial on it. I'm just doing these as an exercise, so I'm using these smaller canvases. They're 9-inch wide by 12-inch tall. You could certainly do this on canvas boards, or if you have a multimedia pad of paper, you could do it on there. I'm just doing it as an exercise so you could really, or you can have a long canvas and cut it in 3 if you want, whatever you want to do. So that's the size canvas I'm using. I'm going to be using acrylic paint today. My colors are titanium white, chrome yellow, fire red, Mars black, and cobalt blue. Oh, and burnt umber, which I like to call brown. These are 2 custom colors that I'll show you how to mix in a little bit, but those are the colors that I'm using. The tools that I'm going to be using, I do have a white piece of chalk so we can get symmetrical drinking glasses drawn, and then I have 5 brushes from my personal brush line, which is Michelle the Painter brushes. Get them in order here. I have a 3/4 inch wide flat bristle brush, and then I have a number 8 and a number 4 shaders. These are similar to bright brushes with synthetic fiber bristles, but their bristles are shorter than a bright brush, so it gives you a little bit more stability as we go through the painting process. And then I have a small blender. This is similar to a filbert brush, so it's in a flat family. It's got kind of a rounded top to it, and the bristles are made with a mix of synthetic and natural bristles, so it'll give us some good blending ability. And then I have a small round brush, a number 1 round synthetic brush that I'll use for some detail work. I'm going to be showing you how to paint a glass with water in it. I'm going to show you how to paint broken pieces of glass, and then I'm going to teach you how to paint a glass that has some contour to it. I'm going to be doing a base coat onto my canvases using my large bristle brush to paint. This one's just going to be a solid like grayish tan, and then these 2 are going to be that same color at the top, and then we're going to have the essence of a countertop or tabletop down at the bottom so we can carry some of those colors into the glass. So that's where my custom colors have come into play here. The colors I'm using in this step are white, black, brown, yellow, and red, and I am pre-mixing myself. I'm going to use my small round to show you how to pre-mix. I have a gray color here, and then I'm just going to call it light brown. The gray color is a warm mid-tone gray. I achieved that by mostly white, a little bit of brown, and just a touch of black. And this is going to give me a nice base that we can use for the wall behind the tall drinking glasses, and then also behind the shards of glass. And then I have my light brown color that I'm going to use right here. How I achieve this is my burnt umber, and then I added red and yellow. Red and yellow is going to make an orange color. So I'm in essence adding orange to my brown, and then I add a little bit of white to lighten it up a bit and help with some good opacity. And I just spin it around and I adjust it as needed. So that's a little bit too light for me, so I'm going to add more pigment into it, a little bit more brown, a touch more red, and a touch more yellow. So that was I added too much white to it, so just a little bit of white at a time will help. There we go, and that's a good color for me. So now that I've got these colors already, I'm ready to start painting. I'm going to do this center one first because I know that it's all going to just be this gray tone that we're creating, or that we created. I don't need to do any fancy brush stroke, especially when using a gray type of color like this, because it will cover really well. I got little bristles. It will cover really well. So if you're going through your process, you can certainly do multiple layers if you wanted to, but I am just gonna do 1 layer on these because I know I'm getting good coverage, and this is just an exercise, so I don't need to get super fancy with my fine finishing details on these. And then I just give it a nice broad stroke, either left or right or horizontal, to work out any missed spots or get that paint to level nice and even. So that one's good. Onto this left one, I'm going to bring this gray color probably about maybe about 3/4 of the way down. I'll do the same, down the same distance on that one to the right. Again, it's not hugely important that you make yours exactly as mine or have these colors put in the same exact place, but I'm thinking that this is going to give us a really good way to show the effects of the glass and how it takes on the varying colors around it and how it's affected by those type of things. I'm just going to leave this kind of nice and soft right in through here. I'm going to go do the right hand one to about the same level as I did this one. Again, doesn't need to be perfect, but you can get it to go wherever you want it to go. That's pretty around there. That's pretty good. Just making sure I'm I don't need to be in the same exact spot, but sometimes those little things tell me to do certain things in my head that I know are not terribly important, but my brain tells me I need to do it a certain way, so I just do whatever my brain tells me to do sometimes. So I'm just going back and forth, giving myself a good coverage on this and then sweeping it across nicely. And then the bottom portion of this one, the left and the right one, this is where I'm picking up that custom light brown. I didn't wash my brush because I want this to be kind of a soft blend right in through there, and then I'm just going to come down towards the bottom with more of that custom brown. So I'm just using this as a fun neutral color. Maybe it resembles wood, maybe it resembles, you know, whatever you want it to. I just thought it would be a nice neutral color that we'll be able to use in our drinking glasses to give us some good effects. So that looks pretty good. Sweeping that across so I have good coverage. I'm going to come over to this side. Again, I didn't wash my brush. So I probably still have some of that gray on there. If I wanted to, I could pick up a little bit more of the gray at this point, but again, this is just an exercise, so I'm not worried about my transition between my wall and my table to be perfect, so I'm just going to let it fly at whatever happens, and then just applying my coat on in through here, giving it a pretty good coverage. And then what I'm going to do once I've got this on here, I am going to dry my canvases, so that way, because I'm going to want to draw some marks on them in the next step, so I definitely want them dry. So once you've got this done, if you want to dry your canvases as well, I am going to press fast forward so you guys don't get bored by me blow drying. Maybe the producer will put on some good music too while I do this, and I'll see you in a couple minutes. All right, so now that my canvases are dry, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some drinking glasses onto them. I'm going to be using my chalk and one of my brushes as a measuring tool. You could certainly use anything that you'd like. So this is just my own little trick to make things symmetrical. I'm just going to have a tall drinking glass here, and then on this one I'm going to have some sort of wine glass. So what I like to do is just, so I can make it symmetrical, I'll just give myself kind of a mark wherever I want that object to start, and I can measure from that mark, and then I can, with my brush, and then I can come down and make a couple of other subsequent marks. I can connect those. That's going to give me the center of my glass, and then I can decide what I want to do for the side of it. So if I want my glass to, let's say, just kind of come in a little bit like that, the trick now is going to be to get this other side to look like that side. So what I do is I will measure from that center line and then come out here, give myself a mark, and I do it a couple of times. So I'll go maybe from here to here. That looks pretty good right in through there, and then maybe once more at that bottom. It's about here to here. It's not a perfect system, but it definitely helps me get it pretty symmetrical, and then you can do whatever you want for the bottom of it, I'm just going to give it a tiny bit of a curve, and then the top, I'm going to give it just a tiny, itty bitty bit of a curve, something like that. So that'll be, and then you can of course measure from the top of your canvas to see if you did those the same, which I think this one might be up a little bit, but that's fine. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my my shader, my bigger shader, and just get rid of this center line with a little bit of water on my brush. And you can certainly get rid of as much of this as you want if you feel it's going to be any distraction to you, or if you feel that you can want to reshape it, you can just push back those lines with a little bit of water on your brush, and that will reshape it. So that looks good enough for me. I don't need it to be anything fancy or that. So I'm going to do the same thing with this guy over here. Sorry if my body gets in the way of the camera. So again, I'm going to just kind of make myself a mark wherever, whatever height I want. Maybe this one's a little bit taller. I'm going to try not to get in the way here, but this is going to be, I should have planned this out a little bit better. So there's that center. I can make another mark somewhere in through there, and then maybe another mark down at the bottom. And then I can connect those, give myself my center line, and then I can make whatever kind of profile I want. So if I want to have kind of like a little, it dips in and then it kind of goes like this, and then maybe at the bottom I've got it kind of going like this. And then all I need to do is match it on the other side. It sounds so simple, right? So then I would just take it and give myself a little measurement, give myself a little mark. This is a dip in here, a dip in here. We got a big bubble here, somewhere around there. That'll give me a big bubble there. And then I think that's good enough to tell me what I need to do. So I'm gonna bring it in here. There's my dip. I'm going to now bring it out to here. There's my bubble, and bring it back down to here. So again, it's not perfect, but at least it is, you know, gets me in the right vicinity, and you can certainly keep tweaking it. My stem is going to just kind of come down here, and then I have, I should probably bring that down to here so I know how far this goes. Like that, over here, and that'll give me my width there. And then the bottom, I'm going to just round it just a little bit like that. And then again, I'm going to take and put a little bit of water on my brush. I got to do my top line too. Get rid of this center, and of course manipulate, or you know, kind of tweak any of these little lines that I feel I could tweak. I think that looks good from my angle. I'm at an angle looking at something that's at an angle, so hopefully it's kind of, it's good enough. Maybe just push that in a little bit. You guys probably have a much better angle on this than I do, and are going, no, push the left out, pull it in. And this top, I'm just going to kind of go straight across. You could do a little bit of an angle or whatever, but we're not going to see too much of that. So that's going to be how I create my profiles of my glasses. Now what I'm going to do, just push that out just a little bit. There, that looks better to me. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make myself a darker shade of this tan. So I'm going to take this tan and I'm going to add a tiny bit of black and brown to it. So I'm not going to do it all, just a little bit, because I want a shade of this that's a little bit darker. This is going to act as my shadow color underneath these shards of glass, as well as help me start these other glasses. And I'm using my number 8 or my number 4 shader to pre-mix this. I probably could be using the other one, but this is good for me to do this. And you can see I'm blending it on my palette here. It's maybe a shade or two darker. I don't need to do much with it. Then what I'm going to do, I'm switching to my larger shader, and I'm going to use this newfound gray to give me my outline for my glasses, because I don't want it to be very drastic in color. I just want to give myself an idea of where they're going to go. I'm going to have just a little tiny rim at the top, so I'm going to just take this color, give myself an itty bitty oval like this. Don't worry if it's not perfect, just kind of get your idea of where you want it. I'm going to use that color to come down these sides. So I'm just bringing it out to the edge. Bring it down my side. Sometimes when I'm doing these straight lines, I don't breathe much. So as you're doing yours, if you need to take a breath, just make sure you're breathing through this. Just remember, this is just like an exercise, so you don't have to get it perfect. I do, when I'm doing this, to get that clean edge on the side, I'm kind of pushing my brush towards the edge. Like when I was over here, I was pushing my brush towards that left edge, and now when I go and do the right side, I'm going to push my brush towards that right edge. So something like that. And then down at the bottom of this glass, I'm going to have kind of like a thick piece of glass down at the bottom. I don't know what the right word of it is, the beveled part or something. So I'm going to give myself a little curve like that. I'm going to bring it all the way to the bottom with my curve like that, and then I'm going to actually put some horizontal or vertical kind of marks in through here, just a couple of sporadic ones, something like that. Then I'm going to go on to my shards of glass. So in through here, these are going to represent the shadow underneath the shards of glass. So make whatever kind of shapes you want. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to say, okay, well maybe up in through here I want a shard of glass that's going to be this shape. Whatever shape you want, have fun with it. These are going to be, again, the shadows underneath those shards of glass. So maybe I want a pointy one up in through here. So I'm going to take this, and maybe it's super pointy, and maybe the bottom portion of it is wider. It doesn't really matter. You can make whatever kind of shards of glass that you want. I was finding that, depending on what type of glass was broken would depend on what type of shard you were going to be getting. So you make them into whatever you want. I'm doing a whole bunch of little kind of pointier pieces, but almost like kind of triangular type of ones. Maybe you make like a fun, one that is something like this, but know that these are whatever shapes you want. You can, and the trick here, I think, to really note is that you don't want this color to be too much darker than the base colors. So as you're going through this, if it's 4 shades darker or anything like that, you may just want to kind of lighten it up a little bit. I think I'm going to have another one over in through here, and I'm going to show you how some really fun, cool tricks to get these pieces of, well, what are now just shadows, get them to really just pop as if there's a piece of glass on them. I think we can get intimidated by painting glass because it looks really tricky. It looks like, how am I going to get it to do that? But for me, when I'm painting glass, the biggest thing I can tell you is less is more. As you're going through this, the glass is transparent. It is seeing the colors underneath. It's reflecting colors around it. So there's no need to overpaint or to make it more complicated than it actually is. So maybe I've got this piece kind of coming out here, and then we'll do something like this, and then we'll go up and through here. And that'll be all of my pieces, or my shadows of glass. Maybe we'll do one little more. One more little tiny one we'll just do. Little tiny one in through here. So now that I've got that, I'm going to do the same thing that on this one that I did over on here on the larger one. I'm just, again, still using that light, or that new gray color that we created, and I'm just going to go on these outlines. So maybe I need a little water on my brush to make this a little bit more fluid. There we go, that looks good. And I'm just going to follow the exterior outline of my chalk. And I might end up having to erase some of these chalk marks later, but we'll see. I feel like this is pretty light. I must have gone through some of my original background color. This is turning out almost too similar to that, so I think I need to remix, or I might have had a little bit too much water in my brush, so I'm mixing a little bit more of that shadowy color because that's too light for me. There's no sense in doing it if you can't see it. So let me just mix up a little bit more of this shadow color so we can proceed and have an actual effect show up. So there we go. There we go. And again, there's not a reason to do a whole heck of a lot on this step, but I'm working to get myself my outline, but I still want to see that color underneath. That's probably the biggest tip. Okay, so I've changed the profile of this, so let's see if I can mimic that change over here. Again, what you guys are seeing from your angle might be totally different from what I'm seeing from mine, but we're going to try and work this out. And just kind of pushing that paint towards the edge of my outline. Putting a little bit of water on my brush now so I can just kind of come scoot down in through here. And then going to do the same thing up at the top, just give myself a little essence of a oval type of a shape. So a little tiny one, something like that. Down at the bottom, I'm going to use this Newfound Gray to just give myself the bottom of the glass in through here. I want to see some of this color underneath there, so again, I don't want to overpaint. This is the trick with glass, is try not to overpaint. So I can just lightly kind of take this gray along here, and then I can even just maybe start to give myself a couple of little shiny curves around these corners, something like that. So that's a great start. I'm going to come back to this guy over here. I'm still going to use this brush, the number 8 shader. So now what I want to do is I want to establish a water line. I wanted to do one with water and one without because I wanted to show you how the reflections are going to change where there's liquid versus non-liquid. So I want to establish a liquid line right now. I'm going to use that same gray, which I don't know why I washed my brush. You can make this line wherever you want. I'm going to go maybe a little bit up from the halfway mark. I'm going to make myself a similar oval to what I have up here. It could be a little bit wider just based on whatever angle you're seeing the glass at, but it shouldn't be very, very much wider than whatever angle you can see the top circle or the top oval at. So something like that. And you need to do the same thing down at the bottom of the glass. So somewhere in through here, I can just give myself a tiny bit of the illusion of a oval in through there, just the edges of it. So now that I've got that, now I'm going to start kind of streaking in my highlights and my shadows, if you will, of the glass itself, but I don't need a lot of highlights and shadows. My shadows and highlights might come around the rim, and the reflections are going to come everywhere else. They'll come in the fluid, they'll come down in through here, so I need varying tones of this gray. I need blacks and whites. So I'm going to wash my brush, and I'm going to go for my dark first, which is going to be a tiny bit of black. And I'm going to say, okay, maybe I need a little tiny shadow underneath this lip in through here. Maybe there's a tiny one in through there. I can use this black, and once I've got, little shadows in through there, I might need some shadow or some little dark marks in through this little liquid part in through here. There may be a little bit in through here, just very little tiny bit in through there. Now I'm gonna wash my brush, and I want to start incorporating the colors from the surroundings. So that can be from a light, from a window, from a door, from anything. So I'm gonna pretend like there's a doorway or a window somewhere. So I'll have some light, bright colors, or maybe there's a light somewhere. But what's going to happen is I'm going to see these reflections more concentrated where the fluid is and down here, and kind of less up top. So I'm going to start with, actually I'm going to put a little bit more black on my brush, and I'm going to put, this is kind of a chunky piece of glass down here, so I can take this and I can just kind of put these vertical kind of lines down in through here. The reflections and the shadows and all these marks are going to be formed by the contour of the glass. Maybe a little bit in through here. I'm going to put some in this water, and this is going to come down this right hand side. So it's going to take on the contour of that glass. And it started at the water line. So when you're doing the reflections and stuff, they'll start at the, you'll see it more dramatic at that fluid line and carry down, and you'll see a version of it up top, but less kind of dramatic. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of that darker gray on my brush that has a little bit of black on it, so I can pull a similar reflection up in through here, but with that gray color. And then I can maybe pop a little bit over on this side. Maybe it's being warped a little bit by the fluid in through here. And then over on this left-hand side, I can put some of this color maybe down in here. And then it's going to be all about putting little colors from the surrounding in. So let me just, I'm going to wash my brush and pick up some of that background color, because I feel like this is too streaky. So I just picked up a little bit of that and that shadow color, just get that to blend a little bit better. So I'm going to bring in little bits of highlights and colors from the surroundings. So what's my only color from my surrounding that I see right now is this color right here. So I'm going to pick up some of that rusty color. I'm putting it right in this water, because it would definitely be reflecting in there. It'd probably be reflecting right in this water right here. I could even bring in a more concentrated color of it and maybe pick up a little bit of red, because the red will definitely saturate this color a little bit more. The water will concentrate those colors and get them to be a little bit more crisp. I can put a little bit of this up in through here. All this glass part is going to reflect. Maybe I pick up a little bit of light blue, to maybe there's a window somewhere. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of cobalt blue and white. Cobalt blue and white. And maybe I've got now some beautiful kind of streaks. Maybe there's a window over here, so I can pop on a little reflection on the edge of that glass, and maybe just a little streak down in through here. I'm going to pick up a little bit of white. I have too much blue on my brush. Hold on. Actually, I want some more of that blue down here. I'm like, oh, let's put some of that blue down here, because I think that it would totally kind of come in through here as well. So something like that. And then maybe even over here. I'm digging this blue. There we go. So now I can incorporate even this blue somewhere else, but I'm going to put some more white on my brush and just kind of pull some nice streaks of light. Pop some little bright spots on that rim of the glass. And these reflections can also, or the shine, can go right over that water line if you want them to. But you can incorporate any colors into it. I just picked up some more of my background color. Maybe I've got a lightness up in through here. So whatever was on my brush there, I knew was going to be a little bit lighter. So I'm taking this and I am allowing for this lighter color to transpire in through here, and then maybe it gets even lighter right in this in the water line in through here. So I put a little bit more white on my brush, and I'm bringing it down with the contour of that glass, which is going to be important when we get to that the shards of glass and the wine glass. But right now, just kind of putting in these additional little marks of light white right now to just incorporate some shinier spots where it would be reflective. And you can see as I'm doing this area, I'm doing these vertical lines. I'm not taking away all that color from the table. I do have my chalk mark in through here, but I'm thinking I'm just going to put a little bit of water on my brush because I want to put a little bit more lightness in this glass here. So I just put some water on my brush, and I'm allowing for some lighter spots to occur in through the glass. Maybe show some of the contour of the glass a little bit more, but I'm using these vertical blends because that's the contour of the glass. So that's why I'm continuing to go in an upward motion. And I've got this bottom a little bit lighter than the top. If you felt that you wanted a little, sunshine in there, maybe you pick up a little bit of white and yellow. So maybe I've got a little white and yellow incorporated in these colors. So of course you can put the highlights and the colors in here as bright as you want. They can reflect anything. So whatever colors you want them to reflect and to say are in the atmosphere, you can certainly do that. This might be a little bit brighter right at the top of that water line, so I just am making that a little bit brighter. This is just with that light yellow, and then just allowing myself to blend it down a little bit. Shade it down, and that looks pretty good. So down at the bottom of the glass, I do need to put a little bit of black to reshape this a little bit, and then I'm going to give it a rest while I go work on the others, and I'm probably going to come back and maybe put a little shine from the glass onto the surface and maybe tweak it a little bit more. But I'm going to go on to the shards of glass right now. These are going to be, I'm going to use my small #1 round to create some little jagged edges. So I'm going to create another color that's a little bit darker than this. I'm going to take that mid-tone that you made and add a tiny bit more black to it. So just a tiny bit more black. This is going to give me just little edges to these. I don't need them to sit exactly where these are. So what I mean by that is I can take, say, this one here, and I can put my little shard edge, which doesn't have to be 100% perfect. I can take it and put it kind of over here, and it's going to make like a little area that's going to pop up that we're going to see through. So I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly, but so I can take this over here. So it can be a similar shape, but part of it can be off of the shadow or away from the shadow a little bit. So I'm going to take up here, and maybe this one is kind of over this way. I want a similar shape to that first one, but I don't need it an exact shape. So maybe on this one I've got a little, maybe this one is even more so like that, and I've got maybe a little shard like that. And again, I don't need the whole thing. I can just do pieces of it. So I'm going to take like this, maybe this one's got a little bit down in through here, and you can see now I'm just kind of skipping along. Maybe this one's pretty dead on. Maybe it's got a little shadow in through here. So what's happening on these guys is they're creating a little bit of a shadow on the surface, but there's also areas that are creating a bright spot on the surface because the shine from the light source will travel through the glass and create a brighter spot underneath it. So there's kind of different things happening when it comes to the edges of these. So just know that's why I'm not doing them 100% right on that shadow, because I know that depending on where that light source is coming from or what the contour of the piece of glass is will dictate whether or not there's a light spot behind that piece of shard or there's a dark spot. So that's where that light spot is coming into play. And then I got a couple more in through here. So this one here, maybe I want this one to look like it's the top of a piece of glass, or like a top of the drinking glass. So I can curve it like that, and then maybe we just have a simple edge in through there and there, and you can see I'm not, like, I'm hesitant to make these so dark because I don't really think that they need to be super duper dark, just giving the illusion of these darker areas. So something like that, and I'll show you again how to make them. That's looking pretty good. So I'm going to go on to this one. I'm switching brushes back to my number 8 shader, and I'm taking off my super hot sweater. I usually do this when we pause the camera, but not today. I'll do it right on camera. All right, so I'm going to use my number 8 shader. Similar to that first glass that we did, I'm going to create those kind of contours in it, but this time I want to show you what's going to happen with a reflection. So I'm not going to put any fluid in this one. So I want there to be like a reflection of, let's say, a window in here. So if I wanted there to be a reflection of a window, what I could do is I could take a tiny bit of, let's say, brown, and maybe that darker gray version, just putting a little bit of water on my brush. And I can take and I can say, okay, well, maybe we're going to see the panes of the glass from the window that's being reflected. So it is going to take on the contour of the glass. So if I do it on that side, I've got it going that way. Then maybe there's one, you know, almost right down the center, and then maybe on this side it takes on in that direction, and then maybe I have the crossbars of it. So maybe this is just kind of something like that, and we got something maybe going up in through here, just showing the reflection of the crossbars of the window. So even if the window is straight, the reflection is gonna take on the shape of that glass. I could also take this floor color or this color down here and put it at the bottom of this glass. So it would definitely be reflecting in the contours at the bottom of that glass. Similar again to how we did it in the smaller or on the flat glass, but now this reflection rides up the contour or keeps flowing with the contour of the glass. So I can bring some of these colors down in through here. This is going to be darker down here, and I'm going to put maybe some colors from the window or whatever, but I'm just going to pull a little bit of this brown up in through here to just kind of carry that up a little bit. I'm going to wash my brush and pick up my paper towel from the floor, wash my brush, and now I'm going to pick up a little bit of black. So a little bit of black is going to come right underneath here to give me just a little bit of a shadow underneath that glass. I can also I'm going to use a little bit of my burnt umber on my dirty brush to create some little dark marks. So this is burnt umber and black on my brush, just to create little reflections, more reflections in this part of the glass. So something maybe like this. That looks pretty good. I think I want a little bit more darkness underneath there. And then I can see if there's anywhere else that I want darkness like this. So I feel like I want a little bit kind of coming up the stem, just a smudge. And again, you don't need to muscle through with this brush. If you feel you want to use a smaller brush to accomplish, as a matter of fact, I'm going into my smaller blender. Hold on. Do I want my smaller, what do I want to use? I think I'm going to use my number 4 shader. So my number 4 shader is where I'm headed with these additional dark marks right inside this portion. So again, this is just reflecting maybe parts of the floor or parts of something else that's around this area. So I don't need much. I just need a little tiny bit to talk about the contour in that glass and to explain what's happening. I'm now going to pick up a little bit of cobalt blue and a touch of white to come up this right hand side, and maybe put a little bit of this right in this little edge of the glass here, maybe there's a window of sorts. So blue is always going to give a good indication of a window in the atmosphere, or, you know, the outdoors. I'm now picking up a little bit of brown because I feel like I want this this reflection to be up a little bit higher inside the glass to take on maybe the other side of the glass bottom, something like that. So that's going to carry a little bit more highlights and stuff. So I just picked up a little bit of white. So now I'm going to put some shine in through here. So this is, I'm still kind of working on the bottom of the glass right now. I'll work on the reflection in a second, but felt like I was ready to work on put some shine over here. So a little bit more white in through here. And as I do these reflective qualities, I'm always so reluctant to go really light, really fast. I just, you know, it's all about incorporating the colors that are in the atmosphere, but to get the shine, I need some dark tones to get to those light tones. I kind of want, and speaking of that, I want this right side to be a little bit darker, so I'm going to go into some burnt umber right over here. I'm not seeing it enough against that background, so I just wanted to, I could even go a little, maybe a little bit of black, just to, so I can see that edge of that glass. There we go. That makes me happy. There we go. And then up and through here, so like I did the highlight and the shadow on that rim of the other glass, I can do the same thing here, but just very little bit of paint on my brush, so a little bit of a little bit darker gray maybe. Just kind of put a itty bitty bit of a shadow maybe somewhere through there, maybe here. I got to get rid of my chalk mark, so I'm just going to wash my brush and just put a little water on my brush to get rid of that chalk mark, because that can be distracting too. And even down that center. So now that I have that, now I want to put more reflection in those from the atmosphere. So I'm going to go with a really light blue for windows. So the reflection of maybe the outdoors is in these windows, right? Maybe something like that. Something like that. Maybe there's, you know, some additional curtains or something, but the reflection can also reverse itself. So if the contour of the glass forces the reflection to go upside down, that happens a lot. It happens with when you see reflections in circular objects like eyes. You'll see that happens a lot, where the reflections will be upside down. So I'm just going for a light blue right now to fill in some of these boxes a little bit. I'm putting a little bit of water on my brush. So maybe we've got, this is looking pretty cool. Maybe now I've got a little bit of a, I don't know, some kind of floor or something. Maybe somebody's on vacation and they've got a little floor or something being reflected in there. It can be anything. Maybe I've got a little bit of a gold color, so my yellow and white and my floor color, maybe that can create like a light outdoorsy color somewhere in through here. So just know that, I mean, I'm showing you this way because I feel as though it's important to note that the reflections can reverse themselves. They can be anything. It depends on, you know, wherever that glass is, what it's reflecting. It could be really bright spots. It could be different colors. I'm going to pick up some white now so I can put just these, or maybe that light blue, little light blue kind of pops on this over here. So it could be, maybe it's reflecting a French door, or, you know, maybe there's, you know, a little extra darkness in through here. So it can really just reflect anything. But now I want to add some shine to it. So I'm going to pick up a little bit more white. And now maybe my shiny part of it can cross over my reflection. So I've got a shiny part on the outside of the glass. So as you're doing it, know that you've got the reflection, but you can also put some extra shine on the outside, as if maybe there's a light or something that's popping, just a little bright twinkle highlight on the corner. Or maybe, you know, I had it over on this side, which I probably should have put it over here. Maybe we'll just put that all in this front part where this is gonna be the contour. So I'm making a change on the fly here because I already told the viewer that the light source was over there. So we're gonna illuminate this center area just a little bit with a little bit of thinned out white paint, and then I can put a bright kind of white line or white mark kind of right in this area to explain, you know, what's going on down in through here. So again, it's a variety of lights and darks that are going to make up all of those, oops, that was the wrong color, that are going to make up those reflections. But you don't, again, you don't have to take it into a hyper realistic place, just somewhere that is going to explain what those glasses are. So when I get to these guys in through here, I'm working with my number 4 shader, and I just really need to put some light in them right now. So I'm going to pick up some white and maybe a little bit, or maybe a little bit of that light blue. So maybe I can take this and say, okay, well, here's the edge of my glass. Here's my reflective highlight on the part that is sticking out the most to the viewer. And I can find those spots on all of them. Maybe this one is concave, so I don't have one of those popping out spots. Maybe this one I have a spot that's popping out, so I'll use that light blue maybe. Maybe this guy right here has a bright spot. So I built this in layers from the bottom up, from the table, from the surface up. So that way, maybe this one's got a shiny part right here. So this way, I'm working my way towards the exterior where the viewer is going to see. So I don't know if I want any other really light spots. Maybe just one right in through here. And then I can just put varying tones in here. So one of the biggest tricks I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this color right here. So that was my base color. So I can take in through here and I can say, okay, well, maybe I have a contour right here in that glass that's now going to show that that part either dips down and back up or is contoured to us, the viewer. So it doesn't have to be as bright as these guys. So this is going to be just that mid-tone. And then I can do that with a couple of other ones. So maybe this one here, I just amplify that area, which we already kind of established. And then I can also add it a little bit onto some of the edges. So if I want a little crack or something, I can put a little bright edge. I can put a little bright edge. I'm just, again, using my the original base color. I can put little bright edges in through here. I can also use this in this guy in through here. So I need a mid-tone in through here, so I can bring myself back to that original color, and that will give me that mid-tone. I can take and add maybe even a little more shadow if you felt that you could use a little more shadow. You can certainly do that, but I'm thinking that I don't really need more shadows. I just want to amp up some of these contour highlights. And again, it doesn't have to be much. It can just be right along some of the edges, like maybe right in through here. We've got a little contour highlight that's going to tell the viewer that that piece of glass is going to pop out a little bit or is contoured in. But again, the biggest trick here was to just not over paint it. So as I'm going through this, if I feel that that's too much, I can just pick up some of that darker tone and the lighter tone and just tone it down. So that's going to allow me to keep those in check. And then I can use my small brush to accentuate any bright, oh, actually, and I can do, just one second here, I can pick up a little bit of my lighter tone plus a tiny bit of white, maybe make one more lighter shade, and you can, if you want this piece of glass to be making a highlight on that surface, I can put just a smudge lighter of a color in through there. So I can use this to make that glass illuminate the surface underneath it or near it, because the light could shine through and create these bright kind of marks alongside of it. So that's just another little trick, maybe in through here, maybe over here, just to show that that light is kind of shining through and giving those little bright pops. And I can use my small brush to pick up a little bit of white and just amp up any of those little shiny spots, maybe a little shine here, a little shiny there. And I could also put little light edges as well. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of my that lighter version of the gray. So I just picked some of that up and put a little bit of white in it to get it just a little bit lighter. And this will give me, you can even put it near the edge of the shard or the exterior edge near that shadow. Just these little tiny highlights of a brighter color are going to make it look like you've got just that, you know, parts of the edges are just shining. Sometimes I am at a loss for the right words, but that's what I'm feeling is these little additional bright pops are going to give you that extra bit of information to the viewer that it's shining just a little bit more, or we're seeing just a little bit more of that jagged edge. And then I would definitely step back and look at this from a distance to see if in fact there was any additional little tweaks that I wanted to make on it. This one I didn't even really do much to, but I'm thinking I could probably put a little extra highlight in through here for that little piece of glass. It's looking pretty fancy to me. I'm going to pick up a little bit of watered down black to just give just a little kind of pops here and there. And again, you could take your light blue, you could take any color and add just little reflections if you felt that was going to again push it into a little bit more believable place for you. Just by all means, just pop little light blues or even some of those colors from the neighboring composition. And then I'm going to just pick up a little bit of white. I feel like I want a little kind of pop over here. And you could also put just I'm picking up my shader. I could pick up a little bit of my light gray and also put some just little illumination on the floor next to these glasses. Sometimes that will help to make them a little bit brighter as well. Illumination from the glass itself. You could also put reflections depending on the surface, depending on if you want that glass to look like it is reflected on the surface. But I'm thinking that those are pretty good glasses. If you felt that you wanted to take them any further, you certainly could. But I'm thinking that that's as far as I need to take these. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, I do hope that you like and subscribe to my channel, and that you also check out my Patreon page, where I have a bunch of other painting benefits that you get to use to increase your artistic skills. I think that does it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a great day.